Everyone. Welcome to the G.R.O.W series, Get Ready for Opportunities at Work. We're really happy to see you here. I just want to introduce a couple people that put this series on with me. We have Professor Linda Tran, who you hopefully can see in your little Zoom box, and Professor Liz Kabilas. And then, of course, me, Professor Worsham. So thank you very much. I'm very pleased to announce that we have a great speaker who's going to talk about maximizing LinkedIn as a way to further your career. And I want to, before I introduce him, talk a little bit about his background. So I'm pleased to welcome Sati Hillyer. Sati is the founder and CEO of OneMob, Inc. OneMob is a content experience platform used by Fortune 100 companies, including Cisco, Liberty Mutual, Nuance, HPE, Fidelity, IBM, and more. With OneMob, companies can improve their sales and marketing efforts with video, content, campaigns, and microsite digital sales room capabilities. OneMob is a San Francisco Business Times top 100 fastest growing private company, Gold Stevie Award winner, Gartner Cool Vendor, and Aragon Hot Vendor. Before starting OneMob, Mr. Hillyer spent 7 years at Salesforce, where he built and grew the app exchange from an idea to 2,000 apps. He also founded ZenCraft, the leading shipping application that integrates Salesforce with FedEx, UPS, and others, and Eversauce, which is a CRM for PR agencies. Sati holds a BS in computer engineering and an MS in engineering management from Santa Clara University. He currently lives in Walnut Creek, California with his wife and 3 kids. Outside of work, he's very active and he lives a vegan lifestyle. As a vegan, he's on a mission to share the benefits of the movement and plant-based lifestyle. His goal is to create a vegan accelerator for individuals and businesses that want to bring their vegan-based product or service to market. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Sati Hillyer. And Sati, you're welcome to start at any time. Let us know if you want to take questions while you're speaking or if you want us to hold questions until the end.
Great, thanks, Miriam. Yeah, I'm happy to actually take questions as they arise. So I probably won't be able to see the chat. So feel free to, I guess, unmute yourself, or Miriam, if you want to interrupt and let me know. I'm happy to do that. Okay, so let me share my screen and let's get started. All right, actually this thing's in the way, so I'm just gonna minimize this. Awesome, well, hey, again, thank you for giving me the time to present with you today. We're gonna talk a lot about LinkedIn. We're gonna talk a lot about how to win with LinkedIn because there's a lot you could do with the platform. And I do wanna just quickly jump into a few things just to help you understand kind of who I am. And then we can go into specifically how you can start to use LinkedIn. So you kind of heard a bit of my background. So as Mary mentioned, I have a bachelor's in computer engineering and a master's in engineering management from Santa Clara University. I'm actually from the East Bay. I wasn't born there, but raised there, spent a lot of time at the grade school and high school over in the East Bay with Del Sal before going to Santa Clara University, and did a lot or knew a lot of people who went to DVC, and it's really great to kind of be able to get back involved. After graduating from Santa Clara, I worked at a small database company called 4D, which was based in France, and slowly kind of got more familiar with the tech space. And then when I started at Salesforce, it was shortly after they went public, and I joined when they were about 1,000 employees. And when I left, there was about 12,000. And now I think they're closer to 60,000. So company keeps growing, and it was a fantastic opportunity and allowed me to, again, really understand how to take a small idea and grow it into something global. And then that's where I really started to get the itch to do something on my own. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I'm on my 3rd company, each of them different, each of them I learned a lot. ZenCraft, again, was more around shipping. Eversauce was more around PR. And OneMob, which is what I do right now, is more around sales and marketing and content experiences. through all that, there was a lot I learned, and I'm not sure if any of you guys have watched Ted Lasso, but I think there's a lot of learnings that I find in my own life that resonated with me when I was watching that show. But just a couple that I think have really served me well along the way is one, fostering a growth mindset and just really always being open to opportunities and challenges and kind of differences, because it's through, I think, this growth mindset that's where you can really kind of break through barriers and really come out with not just a more broad mindset, but also just more opportunities for you to do more and collaborate with other people. I think it's really important, especially as you're learning, to continue to ask questions. You know, things may seem obvious to somebody else, but not so much to you. And through that exercise of asking questions, it actually helps to create just more understanding across all the people involved. I think the thing that really becomes interesting, especially when you start to get into like sales or client facing roles, is just this concept of just listening more and being more understanding and more empathetic, especially now in the last few years where we've had to do more virtual communications. But I can never argue enough to, you know, listen first before kind of diving into what you may think is the right answer. And then this next one is about being creative. I think this is something that's going to be really important, especially as you think about your LinkedIn journey, which is really around telling a story about who you are. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform to help you build a brand of who you are and what value you can add. And I think if you can create a narrative and be able to string, you know, certain posts or comments in your LinkedIn life across a larger story, I think it's going to help serve you well, and it's going to help people really understand who you are. Storytelling is just one of those specialties and those skills that I think not everyone necessarily may know off the cuff, but if you can practice it and get better at it, it's a lifelong skill. Through this journey, you know, you're gonna meet a lot of people that are going to challenge you. So always, you know, be kind to not just yourself, but the people you meet. And this is something that I think is extremely important, and it's probably something that I think, you know, is not always considered, which is just being coachable, really being able to take feedback, not necessarily finding it as like a point of defensiveness or criticism, but more as finding an opportunity to, again, just grow and think outside of your traditional, you know, barriers that you may be setting for yourself. Anyone who you can find that's coachable is just a fantastic asset to be around. And then finally, believe. So again, if you watch Ted Lasso, I mean, this is kind of like their mantra, and it's something I think has also been really important for myself and the people I've worked with is, you know, if one thing that we've learned in the last 2 years is we can't control the outcome. We don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, all you really can do is just control what your efforts are and just believe that what you put your effort into is going to eventually turn well, as long as you know, again, stay coachable and continue to learn from your mistakes. So I like to kind of start that out just because, again, I think LinkedIn is this platform that has more power than people actually consider. I think people sometimes judge it as kind of this online resume or this, you know, social media platform or kind of social networking platform for business. But it's actually a pretty powerful tool with respect to kind of four things. Again, to date, there's about 810 million professionals on the platform across 200 countries, which is pretty impressive. And it's a very accurate platform because, again, most of the people who are on the platform are professionals. So they're spending a lot of time to really make sure you know who they are and what they do. So I think of it kind of like these 4 points of a square. Obviously, there's a ton of people on the platform. And, you know, it's on you to really kind of invest in your profile. But it is one of those things where, you know, if you're not updating your profile, that doesn't mean people out there aren't looking into knowing who you are and trying to research you. And so I always tell people, especially if you're looking to get a new job or you're, you know, looking to use LinkedIn, you know, make sure your profile is really up to date. Because people are looking there more often than you would imagine. You know, kind of moving on across from people, it's a platform of relationships. It's a really fantastic way to connect the dots. You know, you think about I'm sure you get this asked all the time, right? Like, hey, I want to get into this company, or I want to be able to, network this person. Warm introductions are always so more powerful than just, trying to cold outreach to somebody. And that's what LinkedIn allows you to do. It helps you visualize, like, okay, in order for me to connect to this person, there's these 5 other people that I know, in various levels of, strength. And you can figure out how you could use those folks to connect you to that potential relationship you're looking for. So people and relationships are obviously kind of pretty critical. And then on the horizontal, you got research and engagement. So obviously people are going to put a lot of information about who they are. So it's a great way for you to know, again, who's this person, what's their interest, what do they do, where do they come from, their school, etc. But there's also a lot of information on companies. So again, if you are trying to get into Google or Salesforce or Facebook, etc., pretty much every company out there has a LinkedIn page, and it's constantly being managed by, their social team. So you're not only understanding the people that work at the company, but also the company itself. And that leads into engagement. Once you know who they are, the relationship you have with them, and you've done your research, then LinkedIn becomes a fantastic platform to engage. In fact, it's becoming so powerful that as we've seen emails increase, because again, not people not seeing each other face to face, and email becoming so popular, you find that a lot of people they don't respond to emails. They get cut in spam, they just ignore you, and you kind of feel like, man, how do I break through that noise? Nice thing about LinkedIn is it's kind of like your text message, right? If you text somebody, you're more likely going to get, I think a 90% open rate on that message versus if I email. Well, if you send someone a LinkedIn message, again, it's kind of in this like walled garden. So they're going to get it. And most people who are engaged, which you'll know, right? Because you can see how often they're posting, how often they're commenting. Then you have an idea of, okay, this person is most likely to get my LinkedIn message versus like the hundreds of emails they get every day. So it's a fantastic way to engage, but that doesn't mean you can just start spamming people. You want to be smart about it. So which is what we'll go into. But again, why I use LinkedIn, like what's in it for you? It's going to be a fantastic way for you to, find relationships with the people that you know, or you are a few degrees apart. And it's going to be a fantastic platform for you to research and engage with people or companies. Now, the profile is kind of the heart and soul of every, LinkedIn page out there. So I think it's worth spending a little bit of time. This is my profile. Up top, you kind of have the banner and photo. So I always recommend, put a professional photo. You don't have to go to, like, I'm trying to think of the places like glamour shots or whatnot to make a professional photo. Just use your phone or get someone to take one of you. But I wouldn't put, your photo you would use on Facebook or Instagram. I'd put something that's a little bit more professional, less distracted. Your banner, actually, it's cool now. LinkedIn actually has a bunch of different types of banners preloaded. So if you're looking to get hired, if you're, looking for, or if there's a specific moment you're in your life, I think they have some pretty nice professional banners. Otherwise, it's mostly going to be your company banner or something that you're put together to kind of, again, emphasize who you are. Below that is going to be your headline and audio message. So this is really powerful. This is just, again, it's searchable. So when people are searching for things related to maybe your skill set, your keywords are going to pop up there. So obviously the headline should be something that's kind of the highlights of who you are. You can put an audio message, which is pretty cool, especially if people are looking for you on their mobile, because then when they find you, they can actually hear you talk, and they could even watch a video of you. Again, the way I think about the audio or the video, it's like your elevator pitch of who you are, and especially if you're trying to get a job or you're just trying to have your brand discovered. This is going to be a great way for someone to hear about you, hear your voice, kind of see your face in 60 seconds or less, to understand kind of the value that you have to bring. So I would encourage you to think about it. You don't need it off the bat, but definitely the headline. Your bio is a little bit longer. This is, again, who you are and how you can help. Again, remember, everything in your bio, everything you're about, it's all searchable. So, the words you use are going to be indexed when people search LinkedIn. Below that are all your activity. This is a really important piece. This is kind of what you're creating, but it's also what you're posting and commenting on. So even if you necessarily don't write a lot of content, but you read content and you like it or you comment on it, this will show up well. And again, if I'm trying to understand if you're the right fit for my company or if I should buy your product, if I see things here that resonate, that's going to really help in the relationship process. And then finally is all your experience, your school, your awards, things like that. I won't spend a lot of time on this because there's a lot you can do on LinkedIn to really make your profile awesome. I am good friends with the CEO, and we partner with this company called G.R.O.W, and they actually have a fantastic portal with a ton of resources on how you can just make your LinkedIn profile, top of the mark. You can see some of the ideas here, how to think about it. Again, the photo, the headlines, the way that you want to, make sure all of your grammar is perfect, and all these different assets. So this link, rendgresso.com, I'll share this presentation. I'll probably post it on LinkedIn, so you guys can definitely follow me at the end so you can get this presentation. But they have a link here where they kind of give you a ton of free resources to really improve your LinkedIn. So take a look at that, spend some time. I think that will help you along your journey. Because again, you really want to make sure your profile is on par before you start to do whatever it is you do, whether you're job hunting or you're looking for, or you're at a company now and you now want to kind of use LinkedIn as a way to build business or prospect. Make sure your profile is really up to date and it's leveraging these best practices. The other thing that we kind of talked about, which is content, I think there's a lot that you can post on, but I really liked what this woman, Cynthia Barnes, said. So you can follow her on LinkedIn as well. She calls it pie, easy as pie. So to think of your content strategy as a third of it on the first P, which is promotion. So this is you promoting things, promoting blogs, events, articles, other people's content. So other things that you, if you're part of a company, I'm sure there's lots of content that they already put together. So that's what a third of your content should be. The I is inspirational. So this is going to be more about, maybe personal stories, quotes, any other type of like positive message that's kind of relevant to who you are, what you're doing. This would be kind of the next third. And then the E is educational. This is value add. So this is information, articles, white papers, case studies, testimonials, other videos, things like that are going to help to educate your audience that you're going after, that you want to see. So again, if you're in sales and let's say you were selling a product that helps people, manage their customers, then you might post, content on like, the top 10 ways to optimize your customer relationship management tool. Things that are going to help connect the dots so that the people who are looking at you can see, oh, not only are you in this space, but you're kind of a thought leader, or you have a lot of experience in this space, or you have an opinion, you have a perspective. Because more often than not, this is not about you necessarily writing content from scratch. It's more about helping people understand your perspective or your opinion on just what's already out there. It's not often you're going to be writing original content. It's going to be more about just giving your perspective or your opinion on something that's already out there. So I like this pie, right? Think about it every day, easy as pie. If you're posting once a week, then each week pick one of these. Some people are really, Cynthia posts every day. And she does say it's a numbers game, right? These posts are going to get 10, 100, thousands of views. So if you want, an aggregate of that across the year, if you're posting once a week, you're getting 100 views a week, you're going to get 50,000 views over the course of a year. But if you're doing it every day, that 50,000 becomes 365,000 just because of how much you're doing. So start small. I always recommend you can always add more, but consistency is powerful. If you can commit to something, one post a week, two posts, or like maybe two kind of blogs a month, that's going to be really powerful, because then people will see that they'll create this expectation with you on what they can expect when they visit your page. Okay, so we talked about the profile, we talked about the content strategy, and then let's talk about the connection. So you're going to be doing a lot of exploration. This platform isn't too different than, what you're probably already doing on platforms like Facebook or Instagram. But again, there's a different intention when you're on LinkedIn, right? Again, it's about either growing your network, or it's about finding a job, or it's about increasing your business. And a lot of that's going to be through connections. So the cool thing is you can connect with everyone. Usually there's a big button there that says connect on each person's profile. If not, usually it's kind of hidden behind like a more option, or it's hidden behind maybe some 3 dots. And when you click on it, it's going to give you a little message like this saying, would you like to add a note to personalize your invitation? And 100% of the time, I want you clicking add a note. If you just click connect and you don't add a note, it's putting a lot of effort on the recipient to understand who you are. And again, it's kind of like just in general, if you were to, walk up to somebody that you just met and you wanted to kind of get to know who they are, you're going to say something that is going to create some sort of connection. You're not just going to be like, hey, here's my card, call me. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. If anything, it's even more important. So take the time to click add a note. You can write a small snippet. In fact, they don't even let you write that much. I think maybe it's capped at 300 words or something, because you do want to keep it short and sweet. And there are some tactics on what you can do to kind of make this message more impactful. But long story short, if you're going to connect with me, if you tell me, hey, it was great hearing you at the G.R.O.W event, that's going to resonate with me versus I just get some random connection and I have to figure out, who are you? Do I know you? So spend some time thinking about this. Less is definitely more. And LinkedIn is not about quantity. It's more about quality, because the stronger the connections and the relationships you have, it will place far, far more weight than if you just have like 1,000 random connections that they don't really know you. Okay, your message. So this is kind of the one mob spot. So as mentioned, our platform is a platform that allows you to create a more engaging experience through video and content. And so actually what you see here is an example of one mob. It allows you to build these little videos. You can record them from your phone. You can record them from your computer. You can brand them. And then you can also add content on the video page, where we call it a microsite, where you can add, your video, some buttons, some content, etc. The reason I like to point this out is because it's kind of how we like to recommend when you talk to somebody. First, you want it to be personal, which is what the video allows you to do. Second, you want to, again, connect with value. So, hey, I'm reaching out to you because I felt like, based on your profile, or it seems like based on your profile, you're really interested in, lead the demand generation. So now you can share value content, right? You can say, and I found this fantastic article on, 5 tips on how you can really optimize your top of the funnel. So you're connecting the dots, and then finally you include a call to action. So you kind of got the video, you got whatever content you want to share, and then there's the ask. And this is really important, because again, if you post something or if you connect to somebody and it's just informational, hi, I'm Sati, and I just wanted to introduce myself, and I wanted to show you this, website or this article I think is relevant to you, you're just telling me stuff. You're not asking for anything. So you need to include a call to action. So it'd be more of like, hey, just wanted to introduce myself. I thought you'd really enjoy this. Do you have 10 minutes to talk about blah, 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 blah. Short and sweet, something that's it's reasonable, right? If I don't know you, don't ask for an hour of my time. But if I don't know you and you can share something that's valuable and you're like, hey, I just want to connect and, get a chance to talk to you for, 5-10 minutes, or, get your feedback on something for 10 minutes, that's a more digestible ask. So again, keep those things in mind. And it doesn't have to be through video. I'm just giving you an example of how you can make it more engaging. But whatever you ask, whatever your message is, whether it's text-based or video-based, make sure that there's something that's kind of personal, that connects to them. Hey, I went to, I'm from the East Bay too, or I went to DVC as well. I thought you'd really like this. Can we meet for 10 minutes? Like, that is going to be so much more powerful than just some blanket connection with no response. It does take a little effort, right? But there is a saying, the easy way is the hard way is the easy way, meaning if you put a little bit more effort up front, more likely you're gonna get a better conversion. If you just spray and pray and you hope that you're gonna get a bunch of connections, you probably will, but they probably won't be as engaged or responsive. So, again, you have to ask yourself what's more important, getting, 10 serious leads or just 100 connections. All right, let's keep going here. So this I think was really cool. This was done by a colleague of mine where they were trying to figure out how to increase LinkedIn engagement. So he ran an experiment and he showed us some pretty cool results. So let me go ahead and play this so you can see it. It's actually on LinkedIn. His name is Mason. So if you want to go to his profile after this, you can connect and watch it, but I'll let him speak for himself. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I might have to turn this off. So 1 second.
If you're here, it means you're interested in the data-driven proof that one mob and video content can help boost the number of responses you receive on your outreach. So without wasting another second of your time, let's jump into it. So over the course of a week, I did an experiment on LinkedIn where I created 2 nearly identical posts, posted them to LinkedIn, and gave them each 3 days to see how many responses they generated. The first post looked like this, where it was a static image as the link. It doesn't really look like a video. And the second one, I used an animated thumbnail to make it look more like a video. The overall messaging in each post was relatively the same, and in fact, both links took you to the exact same microsite. So let's see how they did. The first post with the static image, as of today, more than a week and a half later, has received only 2 responses. And I can tell you that during that 3-day time frame, 0 responses. But the second one in that 3 days where I had the animated thumbnail, 16 different clicks. And as I dig into OneMob's analytics, I can see that there was 100% average watch time of my video. And I can also see which of the additional content I had added to that microsite people were clicking on. So there's your proof right there. Just by adding that animated thumbnail at the beginning, I dramatically increased the number of responses I received on that content. So now that you're convinced, hit that reply button below.
Okay, so I think that's super interesting. So again, just to recap, you can post typically 3 types of things. I mean, there's lots of things you can post on LinkedIn. You can post text, you can post images, you can post videos, you can post polls if you want to ask people like, hey, tell me, what's your favorite restaurant, and you can list some options. But I'd say more often than not, it's text, images, and video. And, we all know that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And then, you get the saying, I think, is a video is worth 1,000 pictures. So when you do these posts, you can always see your views. And typically when you post a text-based post, depending on how many followers you have, you'll get, usually, I don't know, depending on in the tens of views. When you post an image, you normally see that start to increase. But when you post a video, and what was interesting in this example is he even went so far as talking about like an image versus like an animated image, like an animated GIF, which gives you a little bit more of a feeling of this being of a video. He not only got more engagement, but he actually got more like consumption of his content, because that's the thing that people care about the most, especially when you're creating, is not did they like look at it, but did they absorb it? Did they hear what I had to say? Did it evoke a reaction? And you could see in a couple of days with the first, he got 0 to 2. And then with the animated, he got 16. Short window, but same sample since it's the same network. So, you guys will have time to really explore this as you use the platform. And again, you don't have to make every one of your posts like a video. That's not going to be scalable. And again, going back to that pie analogy, acronym, promotional, inspirational, and educational, you can probably work that in where some are maybe more like text-based stories and some are more like, educational videos and things like that. But proof is in the pudding. I've seen this more often than not with a lot of clients. The moment they start to use in videos, they usually get like 5 to 10 times more engagement on that post. And you can see here, the same thing happened with Mason. So again, we talked a lot about getting your LinkedIn page up and running, because that is really what's going to be kind of the focal point when people start to get to know you. And then once you kind of get more comfortable with content and networking and connecting, you're going to use the platform to either, get a job, or you're going to use it to actually sell. And you could argue actually getting a job is selling, right? Because you're kind of selling yourself, versus if you work at, a company and you're selling some sort of product or service. So let's talk about selling. Selling, it is an omni-channel game, right? No, not like, gone are the days where you just sell door to door, you sell, just through one channel. And a channel can be, just through email, just through online, just through phone. Now you have to think about this multi-channel approach, right? I can call the person, I can email, I can text them, I can chat with them, I can connect with them on social, I can, send them a video, etc. But regardless of which channel, you're still going to want to think about just this common approach: know, like, trust. Most, if not all, buyers are going to buy from a person or a company they trust. If it's transactional, it's usually the company. If it's a larger sale, if it's about hiring you, they need to trust you. But before they can trust you, they need to know and like you. So how are they going to know you? By seeing who you are through LinkedIn, by liking what you have to say, by seeing how you're engaged in the community. And then through that, they'll most likely connect with you, which establishes the trust. So this isn't the short game. This is, again, kind of building a relationship that will allow you to really take advantage of all these channels going forward. I just want to make sure that you realize that, even if you attack all these channels, if you're not fostering relationships, building, engagement, creating this amicable relationship, that trust is not going to be there. And even if you're able to convince them to buy your product today, it may be even more challenging to convince them to renew your product in the future. So think about this approach. Again, use those tactics as you continue to get more comfortable with LinkedIn. Again, if you think about all of these channels, the cool thing is you can, send various types of emails, text-based emails, video-based emails. You can text message nowadays, especially. And I would always, word of warning when it comes to text messaging. I only reserve that when there really is a strong relationship, like you already know who that person is really well, and they've kind of given you permission to text versus just randomly texting them out of the blue. In terms of how you connect, though, the nice thing is you can pretty much use video everywhere, right? If you're sending someone an email, you can throw that video message there. If you are text messaging, you can text someone a video message. Even on LinkedIn, when you're direct messaging with somebody, you can send a video message than just a text message itself, in addition to chat. And, again, people, it's like that saying, you eat with your eyes before you eat with your stomach. Same thing here. People like to see a human, right? It's very easy to kind of disregard or discount a text-based message, especially nowadays where a lot of it could be automated. But when they see some face, they're like, oh, okay, I know that person, or, this looks like a real thing here. So let me watch this. And, more often than not, people watch videos. I mean, the stats are always in the favor of videos. People watch more videos than they read. When they come home, they watch Netflix versus opening a book. People learn more through watching. If you have the same message and you watch it versus read it, you'll retain 95% more of the message through the video. So a lot's in your favor. And it's a great tactic to kind of use, especially once you know the person and you want to either just follow up, or if it's, been a few weeks or a few months and you want to kind of just reestablish a relationship. It's a great way to bring that human personal connection back to the fold. So I guess we're getting toward the end here. So I'll leave you with this. I thought this was a really great scene because, whether you're job hunting or you're, again, selling for your company, you're always selling. So I'll just bring this up here. Give me a second.
And there is no such thing as a no sale cost. A sale is made on every call you make. Either you sell the client some stock or he sells you on a reason he can't. Either way, a sale is made. The only question is who's going to close, you or him. And be relentless. That's it. I'm done.
If you guys have ever watched Boiler Point, then maybe you remember that scene. But the reason I bring it up is because that is true. You know, you're always selling. You know, you're selling who you are. You're selling your value. You're selling your product. And you know, there's a sale is always made. Either they buy from you or you know they don't. And I think it's like they're all learning opportunities. That's one thing that I've learned a lot in this whole experience is it's sales is never about if, it's usually about when. So you got to stay in it. You got to maintain relationships. Don't burn bridges, because if they don't hire you today or they don't buy from you today, that doesn't mean that's not going to happen in 3-6 months. I'd love to give you guys the opportunity to leverage our platform. So if you like, go to onemob.com/free and you can sign up and you can get a free account. Again, I think we've talked about a lot of different use cases off the cuff, especially if you're looking for a job. It's a fantastic way to job hunt. Again, you can basically turn your static resume into a more visual video kind of experience for your hiring managers and recruiters. It's a fantastic way for them to see you, and in addition to some of the other things that you might want to share with them. If you're already got a job and you're in sales or support or marketing, it's a fantastic communication tool to, again, connect with someone, share information, share content, especially if it has to do with other things like maybe inviting folks to events. A lot of different use cases. In fact, we have a website, onemob.com/examples, that walks you through a lot. But take a look at this if this is something of interest to you. I'm happy to support you on your journey. If you have any other questions, you can connect with me on Twitter. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you want to follow me, this is my personal Instagram as well. All right. I think we have about 10-15 more minutes here to go. So if you want, I'll definitely open up to questions, or if there's any, Miriam, that you want to call up that may have come in through chat.
I don't see any questions right now. Does anybody have any questions? Kind of looking out there for if someone wants to raise a hand, or just, Pratik, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Pratik. So I have like a question for my bio paragraph, I guess. I guess I have a lot of job experience and I can talk about things that I have in my experience in my life, but it's just, I don't really feel it's office applicable. So how would you go about that? Should I even mention it or not? Because most of the jobs I had, like I said, weren't really in the office. It was more like out in the field. So
yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Again, I think it's going to depend on what is it that you're looking for. So if you think about kind of the end goal and kind of what your intention is, and if, let's say, you're, I don't know, trying to get into sales, like let's say you wanted to join like a tech company, you wanted to become like a sales development rep, but your background was like in retail, or your background was in, I don't know, construction, it may not feel relevant, but at the same time, like, you can easily start to just kind of say, this is who I am. I'm like a go-getter. I have like a, can-do attitude, very focused on like, work ethics, I've had, these types of, because again, think about on this profile, the experience is going to be toward the bottom. Like, that's going to be exactly what you've been doing. I think of the about as kind of like your cover letter, which is like, hey, in 200 or 300 words or less, like, these are the things that I really want you to know about me that you may not have picked up from just my job experience. So some people do things where, if they are trying to get into sales, they'll use that about section to talk about, like, for the last 5 quarters, I've been able to achieve my quota, 100% or 125%. But for you, if you don't have that type of experience, maybe for you, it's more of just like, these are the values that I prioritize. And these are the things that are kind of like my strengths and what I want to bring to the next company I work for. And that I think will help at least the person who's looking at this understand, what they can expect to get working with someone like you. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that totally does. Just highlight my drive, essentially, my wants, and my why.
Yeah, definitely that. And I mean, also you could highlight your specific skills, like for instance, do you have are these transferable skills? Like, maybe there's like a certification you have, or maybe there's, again, I'm trying to think, like, let's say, like when I was in, when I was in high school and college, I had a ton of job experience doing retail.
Mhm.
But what it gave me, I wouldn't always tell people like, oh yeah, I worked at like this restaurant or I worked at this. But what it gave me was like, hey, I'm really good at customer service. I know how to deal with conflict resolution. I know how to deal with, customers that are unhappy. I know how to turn happy customers into like repeat returning customers. I would emphasize on things like everybody cares about. Because now if you were trying to get into like healthcare and you wanted to or sell insurance, like anyone who sees that, oh wow, you're great with customers and you're good with handling difficult clients. Those are skills that are horizontal, that cut across every industry. So that kind of stuff is things that, yeah, if I see that, in your experience, you worked, for a year at some company, I may not know that about you. So I would definitely highlight those types of things in addition to, what you want or why you would, what your why is.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think we have Jonathan next, and then after that, Jeffrey.
Hello, my name is Jonathan. I go by the He series. Going back to the bio, like, would it be possible to like kind of in a sense put an elevator pitch type of message in there? That way they kind of get to know who you are and what you can bring, even though you don't have to get into like the depth of actually looking for a job if you're not looking at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think definitely they want to know who you are. And so again, and I think it's a summary of just like your highlights, and again, I think those highlights can be either specific work activities or just, personality traits or skills. And then the how you can help, like, again, let's say you're a real estate agent. When people search for you on LinkedIn, they're going to want to know that, like, all right, I can help you find your dream job or dream house, right? Or I can help you, sell your where you live. Like those types of keywords, like that's what people are going to be searching for. It's kind of like Google, right? If you think about when people are searching on Google, the websites that pop up top are the ones that are using these keywords and that are optimized for those keywords. So I think with your bio, you kind of want to think the same thing where, what do I want people to know about me? Or like when they read my bio, what's like the 3 things that I want them to remember? And, that's where I also kind of will go back to that audio video, because you can add, again, up here, you can have a little video message about you, or you can even have an audio. And, there's that whole saying, like, people don't remember everything you say, but they remember how you made them feel. So if you kind of have this kind of quick elevator pitch in your bio, and then you also have some sort of video or audio message they can hear, it's kind of a 1-2 punch. And it's also, these are relatively new features, the video and audio. So it's a great way for you to stand out. Because I mean, you got 810 million people on LinkedIn. People are gonna start to just, think of you as the same unless they see something unique.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Can I add another follow-up question?
Yeah, for sure.
So with my experience, I've worked with kids a lot, the last year and a half. How would I pitch? Like, how would I talk about my skills there? Because, sometimes it doesn't really apply to like working with adults in a sense, because, kids are a little different. Kids can be a little more challenging depending on situations. Or, yeah.
I would argue that it's probably like really relevant because dealing with adults can sometimes be challenging.
No, yeah, I know that.
I think honestly, it just comes down to, again, like, when with you working with kids, what has that helped you do? Like, has that helped you improve like your time management? Has that helped you improve like the way you manage conflict? Has it helped you improve like the way you motivate or the way you get folks to collaborate or build teams? Like it all sounds kind of like, honestly, like, not to like undermine or marginalize LinkedIn. Like it's really a platform where, how can you spin who you are into something that's going to like really market kind of your value. And so if someone was to tell me, oh, I've been babysitting for like the last years, or I've been childcare for last year, yeah, it's very easy to be like, okay, well, I don't think you have like the skills for this company. But then you realize like, wait a minute, like there's so much that's involved in that. And if you can just break that apart and again, help people understand like, these are the things that I was doing that have made me, again, not so much like, oh, I not really focusing on like your day to day, but more of like, as a result of my day to day, I was really able to improve, this skill set. And I feel like actually, if you don't mind, if I bring up my browser here and I go to LinkedIn, let me just go here to my profile. I believe in LinkedIn. So obviously you can, again, add all your stuff, but you can also add, these kind of like, where is it? No, I don't remember the exact place. So here's where you can add the audio. Here's where you can add your positions. I'm trying to remember the exact place where you can add your skills. Maybe it's further down. Oh yeah, here. So this is a really fantastic thing to do for everybody, including Pratik, you asked before. When you take this skill quiz or when you go through these assessments, it's gonna find those words, those keywords. Because, again, you probably don't know what are the right keywords to look for, but LinkedIn will help you figure that out. And then what you can do is you can take the quiz, click add, and again, like if I were you and I've already had a ton of experience, working with children, like I would absolutely like, look for keywords like, team lead or, ability to kind of like manage conflict or conflict resolution, things like that. Because again, people may not be looking for someone who has a childcare background, but they'll be looking for someone who has a background in time management or conflict resolution or A, B, C, and D. So make sure, in addition to your bio, which again, I do agree, your bio is kind of like your elevator pitch, but it's also going to be married with like your skills. And I didn't talk about this, but this is also really cool. If you guys can get someone in your at your university or someone that you really respect to write a recommendation about you, that it doesn't have to be long, but just building up a few recommendations. I mean, these become kind of like your immediate referrals and references that you can use when people are learning about you or looking to hire you. Does that help?
Definitely. Thank you.
Cool. Who else? I think it was Jonathan or somebody else had a question.
I think Jeffrey was next, but I don't see his hand anymore. Did you have a question, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I did, but I got my daughter came into the room, so she was a little upset. My question was, if you're, I'm a working professional, so I'm not really looking for jobs, and my job is kind of an office job. It's a pretty good one, but it's just it's not really exciting. And I know you mentioned posting a lot of content. How would you really use LinkedIn if you're not really looking for a job? I would like to be on there and be, just networking in LinkedIn. And I can definitely network, but if there's not a lot of content to post and most of your stuff is just done at a desk on a computer, how would you stay active on LinkedIn? How would you stay relevant? How would you keep content, a content stream going?
Yeah, I would. So it's a great question. And again, if you're not actively hunting for a job, then I would use LinkedIn just to kind of like, it's kind of like the water warm. And so you want to kind of keep that simmer with respect to your profile. What I would do if I were you is if you look on my page here, scroll down to the bottom where you can find like influencers and companies and groups, and follow any of these groups or any of these individuals, because a lot of the times then your engagement won't be what you create. It'll just be like what you're seeing and then just commenting. And you'll be surprised. A lot of times I feel like there is this kind of like underlying social contract where if you start to engage and connect with other people and like and comment, they start to do the same with you. And it does quickly kind of grow. I mean, all of a sudden you might start with 100 followers, and then shortly after that, you're going to get to maybe thousands, but it's kind of the effort you put into it. So if you're not sitting there like writing content, or if your job currently today doesn't have you like creating things that you can repurpose and reuse, then I would just follow either companies or topics. And you can always like just search for topics, right? Like if you're, I don't know, like if you're a job hunter, you could probably just search for like job hunting.
Yeah.
And then once you search for that tag, there we go. Like, so here, if I job hunting in this search, once you search for this tag, you can follow these keywords. And then again, you can pick up tips, you can pick up advice, you can, again, just still stay engaged and post and respond to people. And all that's doing is it's just creating more awareness around who you are. It's also, I think, getting the LinkedIn algorithm to prioritize you a bit more. And then when the time is right, hopefully that will help you either be more prepared for another job. Because once you start to look, let's say you're now starting to look in about a year or something, all of that history will have already kind of like helped build up your profile, so that when that new recruiting or hiring manager looks at you, they'll see that, okay, this person's engaged. And I will say one more thing. A lot of companies, they're looking for employees to be brand representatives. Because again, like I, as a company, I can only have so much pull on LinkedIn. But if I have 100 employees and all my 100 employees are talking and posting and engaging, and all of a sudden this network effect happens, and all of these companies are gonna be like, oh wow, like it's more powerful than, instead of like us posting about how great we are, let's have our 100 employees post about how great we are. So if if you're a future hire and someone sees like, oh, on LinkedIn, you're really good at like promoting and just staying active, like that becomes a really valuable asset, for that organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That actually gives you a bunch of ideas of things you can do on the platform. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I think we also have Andres. Did you have a question?
Sorry, I was looking for the unmute button.
That's all right.
So say Hillyer, I went to this event called Founders Night, and I remember when I went to this event, I did not have LinkedIn. And when I got there, the first thing I did was I went to because this was like an event where it was a career event where you can meet up in person with a bunch of professional companies such as like Airbnb, Windows, Google, all these big companies. And I went and I told these guys like, oh, I want to use, like work with you guys for free to build my resume. And they were like, yeah. And they were interested, and they were like, what's your LinkedIn? I didn't even know it was LinkedIn. So I told them, I was like, I don't have that, I have a number. And they immediately turned around and walked away. And slowly but surely, I started realizing that LinkedIn, like what was it about? And it was because they use this for a professional setting. So there was like one, no hackers. The other one, they want to see how much you have. Basically, how they see LinkedIn is like a resume, but bigger, more expanded. And it's like supposed to be like type of like kind of like of a bragging site, right? Like you're bragging about yourself. And then I did all these things. I put myself on there, and I eventually, like when I went to the next Founders Night, I ended up getting like 10 connections from like big companies, from people from out of state. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, cause it was like another, Indeed type of job type of thing.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. And again, I think honestly, if anyone, ever applied to our company and they didn't have a LinkedIn, it would be really hard for me to like know who they are, you know, and it's kind of also an area to kind of get some sort of validation, right? Because again, for instance, like let's say I was, you know, looking to, you know, learn about someone. I can search who that person is. This is Cynthia, by the way, so I definitely recommend you connect. But the moment you go under somebody, it says right here, mutual connections. Boom. Now all of a sudden I can see I have 66 people I know that know her. So if I want to connect with her, I don't have to like call like cold outreach. I can say, hey, Layla, like we work together. Can you just put in a good word for me? I mean, this is how socialization and relationships are formed. And so I really encourage you guys to spend the time to use this platform, because what you do today, it's like you're planting a seed, and in, you know, a few months or years, it's going to grow, and it's going to be really valuable. So it is something that I think and it's like kind of like what you saw, right? As soon as you went back to the event and you had your LinkedIn, all of a sudden it's like people were probably taking you a little bit more seriously. And now you may not even have landed a job that moment, but they've already bridged the gap. And so now the next time you talk to them, it's like, oh, great. You know, let's, I remember meeting you at this event, and then you can start to use that. So definitely encourage you to spend some time. Like, again, don't overthink it. You know, use some of the tips I talked about. Go to Vengresso's website too, because they have some free resources. And I think you guys will find that this platform will be really valuable to you. Any other final questions?
I think we have time for one more question. And I also want everyone to know that Professor Tran's going to put a link in the chat for a survey. So we would like your feedback on this workshop, as well as suggestions for topics for future workshops. But Patrick, you had a question. Patrick?
Sorry, everyone, I was on mute, but thank you, Miriam. Sati, I just wanted to apologize for coming in late, but I just wanted to give you a huge kudos for answering Teek's question, because, you know, regarding using unrelated experiences to change the trajectory into the career path that you actually want to get into. And but one question I had was, you showcased a film at the end of your presentation with Ben Affleck. What was the movie called?
Yeah, that's Boiler Point. I think
Boiler
it was
Point.
from, I think it's from the 90s, but
Okay.
yeah, it's just a good reminder that you're always selling, you're always hustling. So don't be hard on yourself, but you know, don't give up. And again, like, don't burn bridges, because you know, if you don't close that deal or you don't get that job this week or this month, you know, there's still potential opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll like it.
Sati.
If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
I'll
It's
watch
probably
it.
maybe don't watch it with your parents.
I appreciate that, Sati. Thank you for your time.
Any more questions? Otherwise, I want to thank our speaker, Sati Hillyer, for talking to us today about LinkedIn. Sati, I don't know if you have any time. If people have questions, we could stand for a couple extra minutes. But we are going to wrap up. I want to remind everyone that we will have future G.R.O.W events, so be on the lookout for those, as well as Business Beyond the Classroom events as well. So thank you, everyone, and reach out to me, Professor Tran, or Professor Kabilas, if you'd like a recording of the event as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, everyone.
I'm going to stop recording, and everybody have a nice night, and stay on for a couple of minutes if you have some more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.